There are more than 2,000 stress management apps a person can download today, and a whole industry of supplements, courses, and breathing programs built around the same promise. The women living past 90 in the villages of northern Okinawa have used none of them. They are some of the calmest, long-lived people on Earth, and they did it without managing their stress at all. That distinction is the whole video, so let me say it plainly. You have been told that stress is something you manage with an app, a supplement, a scheduled hour of self-care squeezed into an already full day. The Okinawan way is not to manage stress. It is to live so that less of it ever builds up in the first place. Those are not the same thing, and the difference is everything after 65. I want to be careful and honest here, the way I try to be in all of these. I am not going to tell you that 6 habits will erase a hard life, a grief, a diagnosis. Real trouble is real. What I am talking about is the low, constant hum of stress that most of us carry without naming it. The overfull day, the racing evening mind, the sense of always being behind. That hum is what these women do not have. And the first reason is the simplest one. So let me give it to you now. The first habit is the daily thread to other people. In Okinawa, it is called Yuimaru, a small, ordinary, mutual helping. Kame Nakamura is 91 and lives in Kijoka, and every single day she sees the same handful of women. They are her Moai, a circle that has met for decades. They share vegetables, they sit, they talk, they check on each other without it being a special occasion. It is not therapy, it is not a wellness practice, it is just woven into the day. And here is where I disagree with the way we have been taught to think about stress. We treat connection as a nice extra, something to get to once the important things are done. The Okinawan data treats it as the foundation. In 2015, a researcher named Julian Holt Lundstad at Brigham Young University pulled together 148 studies covering more than 300,000 people, looking at social connection and survival. Weak social ties raised the risk of early death about as much as smoking, and more than obesity or inactivity. Read that again slowly. The afternoon with your friends is not the reward for a healthy life. It is the healthy life. And I want you to understand what that circle of hers actually is, because it is not just friends who happen to meet. The Okinawans have a name for it, a Moai, and it is one of the quietest, most radical things I have ever read about. A Moai is a small group, usually 5 to 10 people, who are bound to each other for life. In the old way, it began in childhood, a handful of children committed to one another like a second family, and they stayed that circle for the next 90 years. They meet on a steady rhythm, they pool a little money, they carry each other through illness and loss, and the ordinary weeks in between. Nobody in a Moai faces old age alone, because the group decided 80 years earlier that they never would. Kame's Moai is the reason she has never once had to wonder who would notice if she did not appear one morning. Somebody always would. Hold that against the way many of us arrive at our 70s. With the old friendships scattered, the circle dissolved by moves and work and busyness. The Moai is not a wellness idea. It is a structure, built early and kept, and the calm it produces is the calm of never being truly on your own. There is a second piece of the connection habit that I think we have lost almost entirely, and it has a name too, Ichiribachode. Roughly, once we have met, we are family. It is the Okinawan habit of treating the people around you, even people you have just met, as kin you are responsible for. It sounds like a sentiment. It is actually a daily practice. It means you greet the shopkeeper properly, you check on the neighbor, you do not pass through your day sealed inside yourself. Every one of those small, warm exchanges is a tiny signal to the nervous system that you are safe, that you belong, that you are held. A day full of those signals is a day the body does not have to stand guard. A day with none of them, a day where you speak to no one with any warmth, leaves the body subtly braced. We have built lives where it is entirely possible to go a whole day touching no one and being known by no one. And then we wonder why the evening mind races. How many times have you been told that managing stress is your private job? Your breathing, your journaling, your hour alone, by every app, every magazine, every wellness podcast? The Okinawan women would find that idea strange. For them, the work is shared, and that is exactly why it weighs less. So why did we end up believing the opposite? That calm is something you buy or schedule for yourself. Part of it is simple. You cannot sell a person their own neighbors. There is no product in a daily cup of tea with an old friend. So the industry built around what it could sell. The device, the subscription, the supplement. None of it is evil, but it quietly taught a whole generation that the answer to stress is something you add, alone, on top of an already overloaded life. The Okinawan answer is the reverse. It is something you remove together. That brings me to the second habit, and it is the one I think we get most wrong. The Okinawan day is not full. There is a phrase, Hara Hachibu, that most people know as a way of eating. Stop when you are 80% full. But Kame and the women of Kijoka live the whole day that way, not just the meal. The day is left 20% empty. There is margin. There is space between things. Compare that to the way a typical retirement is now sold to us. Fill it, optimize it, never waste a minute. Two ways of living the years after 65. One packed to the edges and proud of it. One deliberately left with room to breathe. The first produces a constant low alarm in the nervous system. The second does not. The variable is not how much you do. It is how much space you leave. I want to sit with that second habit a little longer because it is the one that quietly runs against everything we are told about a good retirement. We have been handed an idea that the years after 65 should be packed. The trips, the projects, the bucket list, the calendar so full, it proves you are still vital. And I understand where it comes from. Nobody wants to feel they are fading. But watch what it does to the body. A day with no margin is a day where every small delay becomes a pressure because there is no slack to absorb it. The traffic, the late phone call, the appointment that runs over. In a full day, each one is a spike. In a day with 20% left empty, each one just settles into the space. Kame's day has that slack built in everywhere. She is not idle. She simply never schedules the day to its own edge. And I have come to think that the empty 20% is not wasted time at all. It is the shock absorber the nervous system needs to stay calm. I have started doing one small version of this in my own days, and I will tell you, it is harder than it sounds. Leaving 20% of the day empty means saying no to things that are not bad, only unnecessary. And there is a particular guilt in that for people our age, as if an empty hour or a small confession that you are no longer useful. Kame would not recognize that guilt. To her, the empty hour is not idleness, and it is not decline. It is simply where the day breathes. And once you have felt the difference between a day with breathing room and a day without it, the guilt starts to look like the thing that was lying to you all along. The third habit follows from that space. A slow morning with no clock running it. The women do not wake to an alarm and a list. They wake with the light. They move slowly. They let the first hour be soft. There is an Okinawan word, nankurunaisa, that means something close to, in time. It will work out. It is not laziness. It is a refusal to start the day already braced. A nervous system that begins the day calm has a much higher ceiling before it tips into stress. A nervous system that begins the day already racing has almost none. Permission, here, because this audience needs it. You do not have to adopt all 6 of these. If the only thing you change is to leave one corner of your day empty, one unscheduled hour, one slow morning, that alone is a complete beginning. This is not a program to complete. It is permission to do less. If you are tired of being told one thing by the wellness industry and the opposite by the people who actually live the longest, and you want a version of these habits laid out simply, that is what these 2 small books are. One for the morning, one for the evening. No program, no app, no 30-day challenge. The link is in the description below. Watching on your television, that little code on the screen will open the page for you. They are an offer, never an obligation. Let me give you the other 3, because together they form the day. Let me check one belief before we go on, because this is the moment it usually surfaces. What other things about aging have you simply been handed, the way the stress app idea was handed to you? That you need to push harder, that the full calendar is the proof you are still alive. That solitude is just the price of getting older. Hold those up to Kame's life for a moment. None of them are true where she lives. The slower, emptier, more connected version is not the consolation prize. It is the longevity itself. The 4th habit is tending something alive every day. For most of the Okinawan women, it is a garden. A few vegetables, some flowers, the Goya vine, hands in the soil, a small living thing that needs you. There is something the nervous system does when it cares for a plant that it cannot do scrolling a screen. The attention goes soft and outward instead of tight and inward. There is a reason it has to be something alive, I think, and not just any hobby. A plant does not hurry you. It does not give you a score or a streak or a notification. It simply needs a little water and a little attention on its own slow schedule. And in exchange, it pulls your mind out of its own loop and sets it down on something real. Kame has tended the same few rows longer than most marriages last. Some mornings the Goya needs almost nothing. She goes out anyway. The going is the point. It is 10 quiet minutes where the only thing being asked of her is to notice another living thing. And the nervous system, it turns out, was built for exactly that and starved of it in most modern days. The 5th habit is the afternoon sit in the sun. Not exercise, not a task. Kame sits on the Ingawa, the wooden edge of the house that faces the garden, and she does nothing in particular for a while. Warmth, light, stillness, often a neighbor beside her. We have been taught to feel guilty about an idle afternoon. These women treat it as load-bearing, and there is more at work in that hour than rest, though rest alone would be reason enough. Light landing on the skin and the eyes in the morning and the afternoon is one of the oldest signals the body owns for keeping its inner clock set, and a clock that is set is the quiet foundation under good sleep, and good sleep is the foundation under a calm nervous system. The woman who sits in the sun each afternoon is, without ever naming it, anchoring her body to the turn of the day, so that when night comes, her body knows it is night, and she falls into the deep sleep that lets the day's small stresses drain away instead of pooling into the next morning. We have moved our lives indoors under a flat, even light that tells the body nothing, and then we lie awake and wonder why the evening mind will not settle. Kame's clock is set by the sun on the Engawa. Ours is set by a screen, and the screen never once tells us it is time to rest. There is a thread of research worth knowing here, because it is not only about feeling good. When the body carries chronic, low-grade stress, it keeps a stress hormone called cortisol running higher than it should, day after day, year after year. That steady drip is hard on the heart, on the bones, on the brain, on sleep. It is one of the quietest accelerators of aging there is. The Okinawan way of living does not fight that hormone with a technique. It simply never spikes it the way a packed, isolated, hurried life does. The garden, the circle, the empty hour, the afternoon sun, each one is a small downward pressure on that drip. Together, across decades, they keep the whole system low. That is what the researchers kept finding and could not quite believe. The calm was not effort. It was the byproduct of a well-shaped day. I want to be careful not to make this sound like magic, because it is the opposite of magic. It is plumbing. When a day has margin and warmth and a reason in it, the body is simply not asked to brace very often, and a body that rarely braces is not flooding itself with that stress hormone hour after hour. When a day is packed and isolated and pointed nowhere, the bracing becomes the baseline, and the drip never quite shuts off. That is the whole mechanism, and there is nothing exotic in it. The Okinawan women did not find a technique that switches the hormone off. They built a kind of day that rarely switches it on. The difference sounds small written down. Across 50 years, it is the difference between a body that wears evenly and a body that wears out. And the sixth habit holds all the others, a sense of Ikigai, a reason the morning is worth getting up for. It does not have to be grand. For one woman, it is her grandchildren. For another, it is the cloth she still weaves, the bashofu cloth they have made from banana fiber in Kijoka for generations. For Kame, it is her circle and her garden and the loom by the window. The point is that the day points somewhere. A life with a quiet direction carries far less free-floating stress than a life that has lost its thread. When the Okinawan researchers asked the very old women what their Ikigai was, almost none of them paused. They knew, and the knowing itself, the simple fact of having an answer, may be part of what keeps the alarm in the body switched off. And this is one of the few places where the science is almost startlingly clean. A team in northern Japan followed more than 40,000 adults for 7 years, and they asked them one plain question: do you have Ikigai in your life? The people who said no died sooner at a measurably higher rate than the people who said yes. Same question, 2 answers, and the gap between them showed up in the mortality data years later. I am careful with numbers on this channel, so let me be honest that having a reason to rise does not make a person immortal, and a single study cannot prove the reason itself is what did it. But it is hard to look at 40,000 people and not take seriously that the simple having of an answer when the morning asks why get up seems to sit somewhere near the center of a long life. Kame would not be surprised. For her, the answer is the loom and the garden and the women, and she has never once had to go looking for it. Now, the objections, because I owe you those. Someone is thinking, that is fine for a village in Okinawa, but I live alone, far from my old friends. I hear that, and it is real, and I will not pretend a video erases it, but the thread to other people can be rebuilt smaller than you think. One standing phone call, one weekly tea with one neighbor, one regular hello at the same shop. The research does not require a village. It requires regularity. Someone else is thinking, I have real stress, not a hum, and these habits sound too soft for it. You may be right. For genuine anxiety or depression, please talk to a doctor. I mean that. These habits are for the daily wait, not a substitute for care you may need. And what about the studies that say staying busy keeps the mind sharp? They are not wrong. The Okinawan women are not idle. They garden, they walk, they weave, they help. The difference is busy with margin versus busy past the edge. The first protects the brain, the second wears it down. This is where the evidence and the life meet, and it is the part that convinced me. The Okinawa Centenarian study began in 1975, run for decades by Makoto Suzuki and later Craig and Bradley Wilcox. They went in expecting to find the answer in the food. They did find a remarkable diet, but what they kept circling back to, what they could not explain with calories alone, was the social fabric and the absence of chronic hurry. Bradley Wilcox put it simply once. What they found was not just a diet, but a way of living that produced low stress as a side effect. The calm was not something the women worked at. It was something the shape of their days handed to them for free. Let me give you one morning of hers, because the 6 habits are not a list to her. They are simply how the hours go. She wakes with the light, no alarm, and lets the first half hour be slow. She steps into the garden while it is still cool and tends the Goya vine and the few rows of greens, her hands in the soil before her mind has fully started. Mid-morning, One of her circle comes by, or she goes to them, and there is tea and talk that is not about anything in particular. The day is never crowded, so the visit is never rushed. In the afternoon, she sits on the engawa in the sun, sometimes weaving, sometimes not, often with a neighbor beside her, saying very little. The loom holds a length of cloth that does not need to be finished today, and the day points, gently, at the people she loves and the work of her hands. There is no hour in it braced against the clock. There is no moment in it spent alone with a screen, managing a feeling. The stress simply has nowhere to gather. Kame Nakamura has never owned a stress tracking device. She has never taken a course in mindfulness. She has a circle of women she has known for 60 years, a garden she tends each morning, a day with room left in it, an afternoon in the sun, and a piece of cloth on the loom that still wants finishing. At 91, she sleeps well, she laughs easily, and she does not carry the hum. That is not because she manages her stress better than you do. It is because her life was built so that less of it ever accumulates. So next week, here is what I would quietly ignore and what I would do instead. Ignore the message that calm is one more thing to add to your day, alone, with a product. Instead, do the opposite. Leave 1 hour of your day empty on purpose. Reach for one person on a regular day for no reason. Sit in the sun for 10 minutes and call it enough. You are not failing to manage your stress. You are removing the conditions that make it. You no longer have to apologize for the slower, emptier, more connected version of your days. That, far more than any app, is how the calmest people on earth actually live. Subscribe to the slow way. And this week, leave one corner of the day open. That is where the calm gets in.